All right, hello everyone. My name is Disc, and in this video we have a viewer lesson coming to us from Medify. We have a level 4 City of Threads, which is also what I did this week. If you're new to my channel, I also do viewer lessons from time to time. It is a service I offer through Medify, so if you're interested in learning, please check that out. I think one-on-one reviewing one of your plays is a great way to learn. I also have a product available where it also comes with an hour of my time to kind of go over it together. So please go check it out over there. But our priest's name today is Geronimo. And let's start here from the beginning. So he flashes his talents. I want to give a couple of notes. Well, it just started raining. I want to give a couple of notes here on talents. So it's really important to know where your flex points are in your book. Because, for example, your 2 points in Dispel here are not needed for this dungeon, at least. This is an enemy purge, and this is a disease dispel for friendly. You could consolidate both of these and put them somewhere else. Also, I skimmed through your whole video to watch your cooldown usage. I think overall you need a little bit of work on all of your spells, but one point I'm trying to make here is you have 2 points banked into reducing the cooldown of Fade, but you're not using Fade that much. So I think you could definitely consolidate these points. Maybe put one back into Bulwark. This is a favorite of mine. I think definitely taking Words of the Pious, if you're going to bank these points, is worth it. If you're taking Holy Nova, I think Rhapsody is worth it. Potentially, I might take Body and Soul instead of the reduced mana here. But definitely reconsider using these points, using these 2 points. Benevolence over Life. I think user's choice, but for Mythic Plus, I think Life is better, especially if you take my bars. I think there are a lot of elements in my UI I'm going to encourage you to take, like my nameplates, my bars, my bigwigs. And with my bars, Holy Word Life is like an execute heal. So when someone dips sub 30, my grid 2 bars will change red. So that's kind of our one reactionary heal. I love it, couldn't play without it. And then also, what is it? Halo over Star. I prefer Star and Mythic Plus. It fits into our Mindbender window better. But this, again, I think is user's choice and subjective to the dungeon, but just food for thought. And then over here on the discipline side, let's see. So Aegis is definitely better suited for raid when you have a large group. I think you could move this point to Wheel and Woe and you can get a lot more out of it. Wheel and Woe is great with tier set and is great in general and great for Mythic Plus. So instead of skipping out on an additional bottom row talent, I would move that point there. It's really, really good. And then also reconsider this guy right here. I love buffing my dots just like anyone does, but there are better talents out there than spending 2 points here. And I had this problem myself when I was building out my book, but instead of these 2 points here, I definitely would bank in an extra point to Rapture. It's just too good. And then with the one leftover point from this, I would put it in a Long Schism. And the reason is because you're taking Long Rift. So they kind of work in tandem together. So your entire rift is going to be buffed by Schism when you have this point over here. And then also your Long Schism is going to buff the collapse of your Long Rift. So consider those couple of points for some potential changes. And then also we're playing Void Wraith. And here I am in post. I wanted to add this in really quick. It is very important to analyzing a key. But here's a display of our healing. And this is almost spot on. So Atonement is always going to look like this, kind of soaring through the roof. But where I would like to see a little bit more, and we see this in your play too, you're not playing Rapture quite enough, and it's a very good talent. I do recommend, again, taking 2 points into Rapture. Your shields very easily should be above your Radiance. I think you're kind of relying on Radiance a little too much, and it's just not quite the best spell priority. And then here is a display of your damage, which is really telling. So Rift will always be on top like this, but there shouldn't be that big of a gap between your Mindbender. Your Mindbender should not be anywhere near your Purge the Wicked, and your Penance should never be below your Purge the Wicked. So really what I'd like to see here, and we see it in your rotation. I talk about Torments this whole video, but you're not really prioritizing your Torment spells. It almost kind of seems like you don't know what they are yet, which is totally fine, but you're missing a lot of your Torments. You're getting a lot of loss there, which is why your Mindbender's output is so close to your other minor spells. So your Mindbender is huge, and you can be getting a lot more out of it. Once we start getting those torment spells, if you watch my rotation video, that should really help you. And then your penance should definitely be above your Purge the Wicked. Purge the Wicked is pretty weak, to be honest, especially when we're doing harsh discipline, getting these extra penance bolts that are empowered by Dark Reprimand. And also this kind of gives a good example. Oh, they're separated. Your Dark Reprimand should be well above your penance. So things are just a little bit out of whack here, but I think in correcting your Mindbender window, a lot of this will probably fall into place on its own. But that is one area of clear improvement that I found in your video, is you're not really maximizing your Mindbender at all. You're dropping a lot of your torments. And a big thing, and we've already talked about this in Discord, but a big thing you're missing is your opener rotation. It should be Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. So Blast, Death, Penance, those are all torment spells. So we need to have the Mindbender out first. So Mindbender, Blast, Death, Penance. And what you're doing is Blast, then the Mindbender, and you're always sacrificing that one torment. And a standard common torment window should always include 5 torments. It is pretty easy to do it the way the spec is laid out these days. So always aim for 5, and I think on average you're only getting around 1 or 2. And I am going to talk about that this whole video, so something to pay attention to as you're watching, just how you're missing these torments, you're not prioritizing the right spells. And also as you watch this, as we go through it, try and maybe earmark a couple of timestamps of things you want to revisit later, and start developing some questions that you want to ask me when we reconnect. And yeah, let's go. So I did skim through this. Cooldown usage could be a little bit better. I didn't see you play Barrier once. You're not using Fade that often. I use Fade at least every pull on open to get my dots out. You didn't play Rapture, I don't think, but twice. Definitely a really good spell to play more. I'm not perfect at it either. Playing Rapture is really good. And then also Desperate Prayer, this guy, our shield wall. I only think I saw 1 or 2 uses of that. You can definitely get more out of it. But let me just pause here real quick before we get going. So PI, on your first pull at least, I'll try and critique it as we go, but you didn't really maximize it here either. You're tracking quite a few spells per ally. I use Omni CD as well, but I only have 1 spell per ally, and that is my system for maximizing PI. For example, your first PI was on the Hunter. You should be trying to pair it with his True Shot, but you gave it to him outside of True Shot. And this is just a pug, so it makes it a little bit harder. But the idea is PI, you want to pair it with your team's offensive. Instead of having to discern, which one of these is the offensive, I'd rather just see True Shot. And for the Rogue, I'd rather just see Shadow Blades. For the Warrior, you can do, Avatar and Reckless, whatever. So all these defensives and other utility spells, my philosophy is there's nothing you can do to make one of your allies play a spell. So I don't see a point in tracking them. Really, all you need to do as far as tracking your ally spells as a priest is knowing where you need to place your PI and when to place your PI. So food for thought. Also grid 2, I think you're using Voodoo. It's just not as good for discipline specifically. And that's because we have a spell called Rapture, which is absorbs. And grid 2 is the only bar system that's going to show you absorbs in the most optimal way. And that's a hill I'll die on. And then this bar right here, no harm, no foul with it, but I don't really love the position. It's too close to your player. We definitely want to keep this entire space open. So like the distance between player and these below, that's great. But it's just too valuable of space. And you didn't use any of these potions. You didn't use Mass Dispel. You didn't use Grip. I don't think you used Psychic Scream, and you barely use Fade. So all of these spells, which you're not really using that much yet, don't deserve such a quality space. That is your space around your tune. But let's just do a quick skim here. So there was a Fade, but I'm looking at all those other spells above it. So your potions, your Life Grip. There was 1 Psychic Scream. That's good. Doing a quick skim here. It's going quicker. So I saw 1 Life Grip there. There's this. Okay, so considering this is such valuable space, and those spells aren't ones you're really maximizing yet, I'd consider moving this somewhere else. Also, I don't think, I just don't really like that position. It's kind of too close here. And then just while we're paused, I'm going to try and not pause too much, but I do get crazy in these videos. I know we talked about it already, but I would consider trying to adapt a combat head here with spells closer to mine. I'm not sure what this one is, but the layout is just not fully optimized in my opinion for discipline. One example I'll give kind of just to like drive my point home is Mind Blast and your pet, your Void Wraith. I would have those on top of each other. Those are our two main spells. So I would like to see those center and on top of one another. Your Penance and your Death together, that's really good. And then, while we're on this subject, so tracking your Rift and tracking your Mindbender's time, its duration, is the utmost importance. And I think in your UI, you have your totem frame actually disabled. So I don't think anywhere in this screen you see those values, and it's something somewhere you've turned off. It looks like this might be LVUI, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's called the totem frame. You have to enable that, or you're not really going to be able to min-max those spells to the best of your ability. Let's go. And then in this poll, with my KUI nameplates, the big beetle will stand out as a different color, really helping guide your attacks and your eyes. Right now, they're all the same color, which makes it a little confusing, at least in my eyes. And then also, quick pause, I'm not going to go crazy, I promise. But I think this is a weak R tracking the Earth Shatter on the nameplate of these guys. The Earth Shatter is a frontal. It is not group-wide damage like the Ravenous Swarm is. I think you're kind of tracking the wrong spell. So the Earth Shatter may be a good idea to hear the cast, but if you're going to be tracking the cooldown of something, it's better to track the mosquitoes or whatever that is. So I think you kind of have some things on the screen that are not fully serving you, and then you have a lot of things off the screen that you need on the screen. So there's a little bit of a dissonance here that I think we can kind of work out with your UI, and you'll find a lot more ease. Also, for the sake of Radiance, we need to have allies party nameplates on. So Radiance is really easy to miss your full party unless you're casting it on someone in the middle of your party cluster. And the only way to really go about that is seeing party nameplates. Not great for raid, perfect, and honestly mandatory for Mythic Plus. A lot of people don't use it and kind of turn their nose up to it, and I don't know why. It is so good for Mythic Plus, you need them. Turn them on. Shift V. Okay, so next poll, now that I've rambled for an hour, let's talk more about rotation. So I did notice when I was watching this back, I don't think you aren't really optimizing yet your Mindbender, and I think part of the reason is because you don't see his totem frame, his icon. So when the Mindbender's out, it's a very finite window where we must fiend for 2 spells, Penance and Death. And those trigger inescapable torments. So when the Mindbender's out, what I'm noticing is you're smiting. You have to smite, but you also have to first prioritize high prio Penance and Death. And if you, I have a video up on Mindbender rotation. I think it'd be worth your while to revisit that, because you are dropping torment spells. Without getting too far into it, we need to be getting 5 torments per Mindbender. Let's see how your rotation goes here. Okay. Mindbender, Void Wraith. Yeah, see your Wraith is out and you're not pressing your torments. So these 2 spells are top priority, huge healing, huge damage, and that's per your talents. Death you didn't play at all. We only got 1 Penance. So 1 torment was from the Mind Blast. Actually, let's just play that back real quick. You might have played them out of sequence. So the perfect sequence is Mind Bender first, then Mind Blast. And that's because Mind Blast has a torment included. So let's see. I think in sequence you did them wrong. Oh my god, here we go. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit more here. Okay, so the first spell you cast. Yeah, so here you are. You're casting Mind Blast. This is the wrong order. So Mind Blast has a torment included. We need to have your Mind Bender or your Void Wraith out first. So Void Wraith, then Mind Bender. I'm sorry. Void Wraith, then Mind Blast, because there's a torment here. And then Fiend for both of these. So you can get 2 penance. And you should be getting 2 penance. That's for your Rift. It empowers it. And then you can get 2 or more deaths. So Mind Bender, Mind Blast, and then Fiend for those as many times as you can while your Mindbender's out, and you'll only know his duration once we get his totem frame turned on. And we can talk about that later. Let's go. Yeah, I think we already watched this one back, but see how your Mindbender's out? If I call him Mindbender, just know I mean Void Wraith. It's just my speak is too honed already. Okay, yeah, so while the Mindbender's out, we must be playing these spells more. This is the bulk of your healing and damage. Okay, so in this pull, I'd be attacking the beetle as my focus. Okay, that's who you got. Okay, we went out of order again, so this might be a common problem for us. You went last. So I'm watching these two spells right now. These are your torments. And we have loss. So I think you got 2 penance. Great. But you missed your 2+ death. It's honestly a little bit hard to tell without having the totem frame on the screen. But also, I would really encourage you to try my Grid 2 profile. It is specific for Discipline Plus. Holy crap. It is specific for Discipline and Mythic Plus. So color changing bars is a wonderful, amazing feature, but it's better used for tracking atonement. Yeah, there's better ways to track where your dispels are than a color change. It's too valuable of a feature to have for something as infrequent as dispels. Okay, so let's see this boss. Also, I saw this when I watched it through the first time. It looks like we have 2 bar trackers. When it comes to, or maybe this is it's hard to say, but I would put bar trackers over here, food for thought. Oh, I think maybe one is long out and one is short term. So you definitely want those near each other. I put my long view on the bottom and short view on top, and I put them right there. But let's see how this goes. So we need to place our spells on the Vociferous Indoctrination, which looks like, I have to pause it to see, 10 seconds away. So we really want a blast and or a Mindbender over top the Indoctrination. So the Indoctrination is coming. Let's see. Radiance. Okay, not bad, not bad. I might have had the Mind Blast out a little bit sooner.
Shockwave.
Also, these texts that come up on screen, like I was saying before, this area of your screen is so important to keep absolutely clear. Having text on your screen, I think, is overkill. We don't need to see the name of the attack to know these things. If it's helping you right now, potentially keep it there. But this is an area to consider taking these messages away in the future. Okay, so let's see. So this is a boss where we kind of just want to see. We have dispels. Okay, so you let those fade. I have been trying to get I've been trying to dispel one pretty quickly rather than letting both naturally time out.
Shockwave.
Your ascension.
And then this is another thing. So yeah, up here, even though there's only one mob on screen, the boss, this area, your nameplates, is so cluttered. It's almost hard to see what's going on. Really, all that matters is our dot there or not, and the health %, and that's because we're an execute class. Things like the level, we can take that out. All of these other trackers, I would call that at the very least a redundancy, because you're tracking timers here and you're tracking the same timers here. So I would say pick one. I would say go with the bigwigs timer and eliminate this. I'm not sure if that's a weak R. You might have to let me know what that is. But really all I like to see on nameplates is my dot, and that's it.
Target change. Shockwave.
I don't even like to see the name anymore. Okay. So here's an indoctrination and no spells were out. Ooh, and we had deaths. So when it comes to those things, I'm just going to pause real quick. my philosophy is the indoctrination is the only spell that pertains to timing our heals. So I don't care to see the bar timers of the other spells. I really only want to see the indoctrination. Every other spell has a visual, clearly. So the indoctrination, let's say you were to eliminate all your bar timers except that one, it makes it easier to place your spells in the right place. And in that one, I think they died from ground damage, but also the indoctrination was going out and you didn't have spells going out yet. So the idea, and it's kind of fine because you're still just in a 4, but the idea is you want heals already going out before the indoctrination happens, because your heal window is longer than the indoctrination. And in that window, let's just back it up for a second, guys. I don't want it to take too long for you to review. But yeah, so the indoctrination is going out and you're not running anything. Okay, so here's the indoctrination. Let's go back. Yeah, so he's indoctrinating. Oh, you did rapture that one. Glad I watched it back. But if you have a Void Wraith and a Mind Blast, I would always prioritize those over a rapture. I think maybe you went into rapture as just a reactionary stance. But the idea I was getting at before is you want to be more proactive, not reactionary as Disc Priest. So what I would have done is if that indoctrination was upon us, I would have had my rift out already. Yeah, and things like tracking this is not too important. Okay. So let's keep going. I think I've made a lot of good points for you so far, and I think we might just continue to show examples of the same ones. We'll have to see what happens here. But I think if you adopt at least my main 3 UI elements, I think you'll find a lot more ease in your decision-making process. So get my grid 2 for your party bars, get my action bar layout, and then also turn on totem frames and get my nameplates. And I think if you at least can do those 3 elements, I think you'd like it. And I think you would do better too. Okay, so this guy has one attack that you're tracking, which is good. He starts bleeding everybody. So my philosophy there is there's really only one spell that we need to track to time our heals, similar to the boss. So that's the only timer I have displayed. I'm really trying to take everything off the screen that I can. Anytime you can take one more thing off the screen, the better. So you were tracking, let's see, what is this? Oh, he got a buff from here. I don't know what that is. And then your schism. So definitely rewatch my Mindbender rotation video, but just while we're just while we're in the middle here, just in a lull, oftentimes your rift is enough on its own, but the best play is Mindbender with the rift. So what I'm noticing is, on average here, I'm spitballing, we're getting twice as many rifts as Mindbender, and that's just due to its cooldown. But we definitely want to play Mindbender, then the rift. I think I've already said that. And just on the subject while I was talking about my grid 2 profile, let's say you were to shield this guy, your rogue, the shield would appear in the deficit, kind of in a way fooling you to believe he has more health than he does. With my grid 2, the shield's overlay from the left side for everybody. So regardless of their health percent, it'll overlay over here, making it really easy to compare. Also, for example, if you were to shield yourself right now, I don't think it would even give you a visual with Voodoo. Or it might, I don't know. That GCD tracker, I would turn that off too. Okay, let's see if we can focus on your rotation in this next pull. We do have bleeds that go out in the group. That is the only spell I would be tracking. I would turn off every other spell. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, you went Mind Blast, Mind Bender again, and you forfeit that Torment. So if you revisit the talent for Inescapable Torment, it is one of our main talents. The talent will proc off of Mind Blast, Penance, and Death. So you always want the Mind Bender before any of those three. Also, food for thought, in between combat here, I would have already cast a Radiance to kind of bank a proc. The proc will hold for 30 seconds. So you can go ahead and let the Radiance itself start cooling down. You can also do it in between combat to let your mana start regening. It's never a bad idea to have a proc going into combat. Let's see here. Radiance on open. Yep. So I'm seeing it's a common theme here. You do not have sequence. And you're dropping your torments as well. So I'm going to try not like kick a dead horse on that one, but you have to aim for 5 torments if you want a number. So 1 from blast, 2 from penance, 2 from death, 5 total. And then also food for thought, since we have long rift, it's an amazing talent. After the rift casts, all you have to do to make sure the entire party is covered is cast a radiance during the rift. And that would have been, at least in higher keys, if you were doing that pull on a higher key, you would have to do that for the dot coverage. Everyone's going to be bleeding and it's a lot of damage. Cast a radiance while the rift is out, and everyone is atoned all the way through the rift collapse, which is huge. Okay, let's see. Another small thing here. Oh yeah, I'd actually call that a big thing now. So because of your rotation, with 4 mobs, what I would do is dot 2 and then let my penance spread the last 2. So what you did is you dotted 1, you sent your rift out, and then you dotted again. So your rift and your mindbender are way too finite to put dots in that rotation. So the dots need to happen first. You never want to break from a rotation to dot. It's the worst thing in the world to do. For example, instead of casting that dot, you could have done 1 more Void Blast. There's just so much more payoff in dotting first. So a dot will spread by 2. That's a talent. So in a group of 4, I would dot 2 and let the final 2 spread naturally. Let's see, your Mindbender's out. So I think you're getting your Penance and Dark Reprimand more. It's up. Yeah, so while you're in that window, the Mindbender Rift window, when I play, all I'm doing in that 15 seconds is looking at these 2 spells and immediately spamming for their cast when they come back available. So I'm noticing you're getting 1, but when it comes up for its subsequent cast, you're missing that. And then, yeah, you're more commonly getting your penance, but I think you're sacrificing your death quite a bit. And being that it's a torment spell and being we can also have 2 of it, we have to do it. So common rotation, Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. The better you can get those 4 spells in sequence, the better you'll do. Penance and Death, consider those reversible in certain scenarios, but Mindbender, Mind Blast, Penance, Death, or Death, Penance. But Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. And that is your opener. So do your dots, do your atonements, Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. Also, I like to open with a Radiance just for the proc. So as like an opener, I might drop my Rhapsody. As an opener, getting a couple natural atonements out in group. My dryer just beeped at me. So as an opener is natural atonements, dot enough. A Radiance for the proc, drop a Rhapsody if you have that point. Then your Mindbender, Mind Blast, Death, Penance. Okay, boss. So we're really only tracking 2 spells here, and it's the freeze attack where we should be placing a Mass Dispel. But on open here, we definitely want to go for a damage grab because nothing's happening yet. I would have rifted with the Mindbender. It looks like you held the Mindbender. Ooh, that's a really good note to talk about. So it will change your life. I was just having a lesson with someone else about this. You can do feathers. Yeah, instead of placing a green circle near you to step into it, you can do a macro for cast at player angelic feather, and it acts as a personal speed boost. It takes out the work of having to do this thing. It's one less click. You should definitely do it. Let's see, it's going to see your timers come down. We have the Rhyme Dagger going out where we need to stack. It's also a great place to place Rapture preemptively. Yeah, so anytime like that where the group is going to take one tick of damage, one big hit, Rapture is perfect.
Your ascension.
Target change. AOE incoming. What?
So now that your Rift is out, anytime now that the Rift is out that you cast a Radiance, the whole group will be covered. It's not a bad idea to just kind of aim for that coverage. It's like, one, your job, but two, casting a Radiance gives you a huge proc. So working in a Radiance is good all around for damage and healing. So yeah, try doing that as far as a practice. After you cast your Rift, in a Radiance. So like here, let me just make an example while we're talking about Radiance. So let's say you cast Radiance on yourself. It might hit your melee, but it's not going to hit your ranged. If you cast Radiance on your range, it's going to hit your melee, but not you. So the idea here is with party nameplates, you want to cast your Radiance on this goon right here, because that way it'll hit all of you. You have to cast Radiance on the person in the middle of your cluster, or you're going to have misses. Oh yeah, also, food for thought. I took it off recently. I don't think it serves much of a purpose except acting as a distractor. All of these numbers, I've totally disabled them except for like 2 spells. I don't think they do much as far as helping you make your decisions. Therefore, I look at them as kind of a distraction. Let's see, we have a Mindbender and a Rift window. So death outside of your Mindbender is not that powerful, but in the Mindbender absolutely is. Especially now that you're sub 20. Are you sub 20? It's hard to tell. Yeah, so with my nameplates, the nameplate bar will change colors when they are sub 20, and it's a really good feature to help you know when to prioritize death. So in this window with your rotation, if you went Mindbender, Death, Death, you'd get a lot of torments. Okay, moving on.
Target change.
I like that bird. Yep. Picking the middle target, that is a good focus. So what I would do on this pull, because the other guys die pretty quickly, I would immediately cast my Mindbender, then my Rift, and then my Penance first, just to go ahead and get the damage grab, amplifying the Rift off my Penance, and then, yeah, Death last. Dot, then Penance. I definitely would have rifted there. Rift is a fairly short cooldown that we can use more. Mindbender's out. Still missing that death. Let's see if you catch that second penance. It's still purple. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, so you're missing the subsequent cast. You're getting the first one, but when it comes back up off cooldown, you're just smiting. So your spell priority is a little off. Let's see, your rift is out, your rift is out. Yeah, and a big miss there too. So our rift is empowered by every bit of penance we cast. So the idea with extended rift is we need to aim for 2 penance. The other point without the extended rift is only 1 penance. So since you're taking the point for extended rift, we need to get 2 penance because it empowers every bit of it. So while that rift was out, your second penance came up, and I think you were smiting.
Your ascension.
Target change.
Rift is out, rift is out. I might have also used Void Wraith here. Yeah, again, them together is the best way to go about it. Rift on its own does enough, but you do want them together, and you didn't use it on the pull before either. The Mindbender is a spell you want to kind of cast once per pull. And you just had a lot of loss on this guy. He's been sitting for 2 pulls. Let's see if you cast him here. Yeah, you're casting those out of order for sure. You're going Mind Blast. Wraith? Wraith Mind Blast instead. So Penance and Death are just the most important spells for us. Not only do they proc our torments, the Penance is going to empower our Rift. So while the Rift is out, you kind of have to think to yourself, you know, have I got to my second one yet or not? And there's a high priority to get that second one out. So what I would do is Radiance. So while the Rift is out before it pops, if you Radiance,
Shockwave.
Your ascension.
everyone would have been topped. Ooh, barrier?
Target change.
Complete.
Turn off those talking heads too, that's just me. Also, I put my scorecard in the top corner. Corners are least valuable as far as space goes. I put the objectives up here, just me.
Watch your step.
Let's see. What I would have done here, let me just back it up one little second. So in a moment like this, where your Blast and Mindbender are only slightly off of each other on cooldown, so what you do here is you cast your Mind Blast without your Void Wraith. What I would have done, since they're so close together, is make them meet first. And that way you can get a double. So you can go for your Wraith with the Mind Blast. And what you did here is you went straight for the Blast. And about 1 second into the Blast, your Wraith was up. And then let's just see if you played at that point either. Okay, so there goes your Rift. And 1 cast later, your Wraith is ready. Yeah, so you missed the opportunity of getting the Wraith out by just kind of maybe rushing that pull a little bit. And then also food for thought here. In all of these moments where you're sidestepping and you have to literally stop your Void Blast casting, you have other instant spells that you didn't cast. So in all of these sidestep moments, what I would be thinking is Divine Star, but you're using Halo instead, or Death. Those are both instant casts, or would be. So Death is instant. So instead of casting nothing while you're sidestepping, cast a Death, and your Death is up. Yeah, you're missing cast here. Okay, so there goes your Wraith. Okay, you got 2 Torments. Let's see if you get your second Penance here. Oh, you did. So you got 3 Torments to get your Death. So you got 3 of 5 Torments. The definitely rewatch my video on what a Mindbender rotation looks like. It's a lot easier than it used to be. This guy left you AFK. It's a lot easier than it used to be. The minimum amount of torments you should always be getting is 5. It is very easy to get 5. You're just kind of not prioritizing the right spells. So I think with a little bit of tweaking there and kind of helping you like fully understand what the Mindbender looks like, you can increase your average overnight probably. So instead of getting, 1 or 2 or 3 torments on average, if you can get that up to 4 or 5 on average, that is a black and white increase. Good thing. So let's see, both of their spells up. Enough sequence again.
Your ascension.
Wraith is out. Okay, good. You got your torment from death that time. Second penance, second penance, second penance. Got it. It's hard, a little bit hard to tell how. Without your torment, without your totem frame showing you your Mindbender's duration, it's almost kind of like we're flying blind here. And as the viewer, it's hard to tell. And as the player, it's going to be impossible to tell. So turning on that torment, I don't know what I keep saying. Turning on that totem frame is going to do you a world of good and open your eyes to what you need to see. Okay, so on this pull, what I'll do is Rift, Star, and then Nova. Well, I'll work in penance too for the Rift amplifier. So I'll get probably 1 dot out, Rift penance to amplify it, Star to get the damage grab, drop Rhapsody. I don't think you're playing Rhapsody, but I dropped Rhapsody. Well, he went straight up AFK on you. But Rift being a pretty free cooldown to cast, it's a relatively short cooldown. This is a great place to cast it. Even if you don't get full value, it will be back by the time the boss is up. Let's see what you do. Rift. I would not be dotting all of these. So they're going to die way too quick to spend the time dotting. I might do 1 dot just for the value, but straight into Rift. Just burn them up. Yeah, Rift is going to do so much more damage than those dots. Okay, so a couple things we have to watch for here is the Vicious Darkness. This is a hit. You kind of want to have something rolling here.
Help so.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Target
Yeah, I really like it when the Rift collapses after the hit with the Tometson group, which is exactly what you did. So everyone took damage, the Rift collapsed, and it recovered the damage.
Watch your step.
And then also we're watching his energy. So he does a really big nasty attack at 100. Let's see how you play that. Oh yeah, then this is a problem too. So the thing with Voodoo is it puts heal absorbs and shield absorbs in the deficit. So to me, this guy looks, the way the eye sees it is he's at 50% health, when it'd be much more important to see his actual health represented as like 10 with a full deficit in black. So you can really clearly see what his actual health is instead of this like pseudo read. That was my main qualm with Voodoo, and I did use it literally for years, but Grid 2 is going to be better for you. Yeah, these timers are so important, and you've put them in the corner, which is the least valuable space. You do a lot better putting those a little bit more in eyesight, trimming your list down to only be the Vicious Darkness. Yep. Okay, your Rift was better timed on the first one. He's approaching 100. We really want a Rift here. That's all we got. So Mindbender is not ready, but let's see how we do the Rift. Okay, not bad, not bad. I would have liked to see a Radiance a little bit sooner, but he did that good. Okay, and in this moment, we have quite a bit of time until 100 energy. That's all I'm thinking about. So I want to reach for a damage grab, and that's going to be both my Wraith and my Rift. Okay, you played them both out of order, but you played them both. You have death here. See if you get your next penance, your torment.
Target change.
Oh, 2 pings ups.
Watch your step.
Oh, then something here. I would, well, yeah, just get my grid 2.
Help so.
Not a bad play of that stomp, but we're approaching 100. Looks like we're banking spells. That's good. I would have a couple natural atonements out. So what I like doing is, let's say if we flash heal the hunter, that'll atone both of you. So I can flash heal renew, and then all 3 of you guys will have a long duration atonement at the same duration. And that is a great way to lead into a rift. Switch that up just for semantics. I would flash heal the hunter, renew the tank. We always want to have an atonement on the tank, but then 3 people, the idea is 3 people all have a 15-second duration. And that is a really great way to lead into rift, because once the rift is out, the plan is to cast a radiance. And we're about to hit 100. So I'd have a couple atonements, then rift, then radiance. Yeah, you radiance really early. Not a bad thing, but the rotation I've been trying to find is get the 3 blasts for the rift extension first. So I'll rift, blast, 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 just to make sure I get the extension. Work in a radiance a little bit later. It's going to give you more coverage. You radiance really early. It'll still cover through the collapse, but what's going to happen is you're going to get the collapse and your atonements are going to drop at the same time. The better play would be to have your atonements linger beyond. In a sense, it's kind of just prolonging, it's extending your healing window if you delay your radiance more. Okay, start pulsing. Looking at your spells, I'm just going to pause real quick. We don't have, well, it looks like our Wraith is out, so that's going to be helping. But one of the best places in this dungeon for your barrier is on these 100% energy bars, and you've not played that yet. There's one thing. Okay, so you're rapturing. A better play of rapture, like let's say I was in this position where I didn't have my rift yet. I'm approaching 100. What I would have done is pre-rapture before the damage goes out. And then while the damage is going out, while my Wraith is out, I would have been just focusing on torment spells for the healing. So we pre-coat with rapture for healing. And then the Wraith should carry you through. But yeah, your Wraith was out, but you're not prioritizing your torments. I know I'm being a dead horse, but it's all about torments with discipline.
Helps you.
Okay, moving on. You're almost there. Last boss is quite a doozy though. And I've not watched the last boss yet, so let's just kind of do it together. That player, Angelic Feather, will change your life. Man, I'm getting kind of hungry. Who's trolling? Is he? He's talking about Reza? So on this, I would be tracking 1 attack on the nameplate. Here we go, it's the web. Soothe. The soothe does get that beetle, somehow it's a human. A bit dicey with 2 guys popping off. Got both your torments there, good job. Good collapse, good collapse.
Run.
I would have gone ahead and cast another rift here to cover that attack, especially since you have the mosquitoes coming in after it. Oh yeah, you have this GCD thing everywhere. So your icons show a GCD tracker, but it's also not like, I don't think it's that important to see. I think eventually you gain a sense of your GCD, so you don't need a bar plus the cursor thing. Anytime you can take a redundancy off the screen and open up even a pixel of screen space, it does you good, in my opinion.
Run.
Okay, we have boss.
Watch your
The splice does group damage, something to track, and then also in the add spawn group damage. The perfect play is have your rift collapse after the adds damage. So I think we're in a good position here. What I would do though is make sure I radiance before the collapse. And it looks like you're in good time. Let's see what
AoE
happens.
incoming. Target chip.
Your collapse happened a little early. So if you wanted to get nitpicky, I would have delayed that whole rotation a little because your collapse happened, then the AoE damage happened. And it's going to be really hard to do. But delaying your spells, you'll find a sense of it eventually. But I would have delayed there because you want that collapse after that group-wide hit.
AoE incoming. Stack.
Uh-oh. Quick reaction. What's up? Okay, so you have both your spells, Mindbender and Wraith. Now this is a big tank hit right there when all the balls come in. Perfect spot for Paints Up, although you didn't have any. Alternatively, I might use a Penance proc defensively. At least give a Wheel and Woe on the tank defensively, which you don't have that talent point. Okay, so you're a little dry, and you can tell in group your overall percent is like, what would you estimate, 30, 35, 40%? So you don't have any but 2 atonements out. Your 2 healing spells are not running yet, your pet and your rift. So the better play there would to be anticipate that hit coming and get ahead of the damage. That's the main thing with discipline, is not reacting, but knowing it's coming and being ready already. So what I would have done again is flash heal someone, renew someone, go into your window, and within 2 or 3 blast casts, work in a radiance, and everyone should be covered through the rift collapse, and it's really pro.
Target change. AoE incoming.
Okay, so here's a small problem. Not the worst place. Sometimes you kind of just have to abandon your pet, your Void Wraith, but he's still active, and you have torments to get, but you're rapturing. So the priority here would be to go for your torments first. In most scenarios, save the rapture for something else, because the torments are going to yield you more value than letting those go to waste. The rapture did cover. Be another opportunity for a barrier. This is a big tank hit, great for Paints Up.
Watch your AoE incoming.
Alrighty. Gotta get a little percent, it looks like. So this guy also does 1 attack, which I'd be tracking.
Watch your step.
Let's see it on his nameplate though. Yeah, so I do have a weak R that I can give you to track these key spells. Yeah, this earth attack that's casting now, you can at least estimate its cast. And as a Disc Priest, again, getting ahead of damage is key. If you can estimate when it's happening, it just helps.
Your essential.
Target
Okay, we did a
change.
rift without the bender. That's totally fine. Alrighty. Key complete. So good job on that. Good job on completing it. I think we made a lot of good points here. Even though I might have been beating a dead horse on a couple of them, it's just they are that important. So in summary, a couple of things I suggest to you are adapting to a couple of my UI elements, getting my grid 2, getting my action bar HUD, getting my nameplates, get my bigwigs as well, and a handful of my weak Rs. And all of these things, I think, are incredibly user-friendly and intuitive, the most intuitive way to kind of track these things. And it will really, for lack of a better term, open your eyes to a lot of things I don't think you're seeing yet. For example, like your totem frame we talked about, your Mindbender and Rift icons, absolutely need to see those. And I think with a couple like cleaned up UI elements in these key areas of friendly health bars, enemy health bars, it'll really do a lot to kind of empower your decision-making process. Also, one of the biggest elements of min-maxing discipline is having a solid Mindbender rotation, and I don't think you're quite there yet. I don't think you fully understand the rotation that the Mindbender asks of us. So definitely revisit my dedicated video to a Mindbender rotation. It's, I think, a 15-minute video, but you could potentially only even watch half of it. And I think even doing that, it'll kind of be a light bulb moment for you. It's not too hard once you know it. And I just think maybe at this moment, you don't know the rotation that's needed. Mainly because you're playing your Blast, then your Wraith. You should reverse that. Wraith, then Blast. And then, yes, definitely more just play spells overall. For example, the Desperate Prayer, our shield wall, wasn't played quite enough in my opinion. Fade wasn't played quite enough. You didn't play Barrier once. I think we didn't focus too much on PI except for the first pull, but optimally, we need to be timing this with our allies' offensives. But I think I gave you a lot of good notes here. Please let me know any questions you have. Also, when we reconnect this weekend, if you want to earmark any timestamp to maybe go over a specific pull together that you were curious about, please do that as well. And yeah, if anyone else is watching this video and would like a lesson like this as well, please go check out my Metafy. I have it available over there as a nice package. But Geronimo, good job here. I think you do have some improvement to work on, but I don't think you're far from it. I think with just kind of knowing some better spell priorities and rotations, you can probably see a lot of improvement just in about 1 week's practice. But good job overall. Thank you so much for the lesson. And until next time, Disc.